We're speaking with Dianne Morales, who is running to be the next mayor of New York City. If you could talk about where you're from. I know Bed-Stuy. I'm actually, I was born in Mill Basin, and I am a Jersey guy through and through, even though I am a Brooklyn Net fan, so I'm proud to throw that out there. If you could share with us, what your New York experience has been like. Obviously, there's 5 boroughs, but Brooklyn, I like to say, is the heart of New York City. No offense to the other boroughs. So let's start there. Let's start with Bed-Stuy and Brooklyn, and then we'll expand from there.
Sure. I mean, so I was born and raised in Bed-Stuy. This is home for me. Didn't really start to experience the other boroughs until I went to high school. I went to high school in Manhattan, and so that was when I started to explore my independence back in the late 70s, early 80s. And kind of, explore the world, what felt like the world outside of the borough. But I've always lived in Brooklyn, except for actually I did a short stint after college in Flushing, Queens, in a basement apartment with no windows. Wouldn't want to. Where'd you go to school? So I went to Stuyvesant High School, which is one of the sort of test prep specialized high schools that are at the center of so much controversy right now. And then I went out to Dartmouth College freshman year. Terrible place for someone like me.
Little conservative for you?
It was a little conservative. It was a little racist and a lot classist. And this was the 80s. So, we'll give them a little grace. I don't think it's changed
that much. I'm not feeling it. But
well, we remember those 80s very fondly.
All right, I'm 82, so I hear you. And I actually had a friend who went to Dartmouth, but I digress.
Yeah, I mean, some people went there and had great experiences. I think, coming from the hood and being first generation, it was probably not the best place for me. Then I graduated from Stony Brook University on Long Island, and then went on later on to get graduate degrees from Columbia and from Harvard.
Wow. See, now that's fancy. It's very fancy. So
I think I was overcompensating for the Dartmouth debacle, to be honest.
Well, no, and you know what? The truth is, if you have the opportunity to have a name like those names, it does matter. It does matter, and it does make a difference, and it does open doors that wouldn't otherwise be open to somebody. And it's unfortunate that that's the case, but that's the case.
Right. I think that's right. I think that's right. I think it's there definitely have been doors that have probably, my resume has probably sort of floated to the top as a result of it. But I think it's different even for coming from those schools, whether or not you have sort of the networks or know how to do the networks when you're there, which is not something that I was skilled in. I understand now in retrospect better than I did at the time.
Right. You weren't in the sailing club in the Hamptons crowd, is what you're saying.
Just a little bit. Yeah. No.
So obviously New York is a bundle of the same issues that we have. It's like a microcosm of everything that's going on in the country. You obviously were hit hardest in the beginning with COVID. You're everything from your governor's scandal to everything gets major news coverage. But what are your key issues that you would really want to address that are really within the capacity of the mayor's office? I mean, we could talk about all sorts of policy, but what is realistic that you would want to achieve to do as mayor?
Sure. I mean, so, I think that's question's a little tough right now, given sort of the current times that we're living in, right? The fact that we still haven't gotten the pandemic under control, the fact that it is impacting certain communities so much more disproportionately than others, the fact that we're not rolling out the vaccine in an equitable way, so there's that sort of reality. And I think for me, saving the lives of Black and brown people who are working to keep the city running would be first priority. And that involves both, paying people to stay home where possible, ensuring the people that have to go to work, that they have the protections that they need, both in terms of PPE and access to the vaccine. But I think if it were normal time, which normal, one of the things I've said throughout this campaign is that normal wasn't working for most of us anyway. No. I think that the priority for me would be around, and what I think about as the thing that I expect to tackle sort of first is the reimagining and reclaiming of the definition of public safety. Public safety and policing are not the same thing, and they have been equated for far too long in communities. And I think we've, it's happened as we've divested from communities and divested from the things that actually really contribute to community safety. And I think we need to move towards actually reclaiming that and reinvesting in our communities. So I think that's one of the things that would be a real priority for me.
Yeah, it's we all remember, well, not all of us, but those of us that have been paying attention, how Mayor Bloomberg was and what happened with stop and frisk and what that has done to generations of people of color. And I know how devastating that is. I'm somebody with a background in criminal justice and criminal law. So to me, that's a very pet issue for me. And the concept, the injustice there. But have you noticed any real significant changes since de Blasio has been in there, since we've had those issues? Or has it really just been the same?
I mean, I think there have been some differences. He was successful in sort of stemming the flow of the stop and frisk and the broken windows policing on some level. But, I think that any progress that he might have made was really significantly lost over the course of the last year when we watched as the police, NYPD brutalized peaceful protesters and violated people's civil rights. I think, it's really hard to give him credit for anything that he might have done on the front end. Did I lose you? Okay.
No,
you froze for a second, but you're okay.
Yeah. Got it. It's hard to give him credit for anything that might have happened on the front end because the last year there's been to say rollback is such an understatement in terms of the things that we've seen happen. And, I watched as my kids got pepper sprayed and then my son got assaulted at the very first George Floyd protests last year. So it's hard for me to give him any credit for anything positive.
He just seems fairly hapless to me, he's just never seemed very effective. He just seems sort of just there to me. Yeah,
it feels kind of like he's over it, quite frankly. I think New Yorkers started to get that sense when he, launched his candidacy for president. And then I think he never, it doesn't feel like he ever really came back home, to be honest.
Yeah. Well, I'm not, it's not surprising. Thanks for watching. If you want to support our mission to transform politics into service, please like this video, subscribe, follow us on social media, and consider joining our Patreon, where you'll get early access to our interviews as well as other exclusive content. Links are in the description. Peace out.